Oh, there's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Shawn the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with a review of a translated novel from the Arab world, Without, by Younis Alakhzami. Translated from the Arabic by Michelle Hartman and Caline Nasrallah. And this novel is about an intersex protagonist, and so I'm assuming is quite groundbreaking in terms of Middle Eastern Arabic literature. This was published in 2021 in English translation, and the publisher is a new, I think it's a micro press, I'm not sure. I was provided review copies of all of their published works, including this one. And the name of that publisher is Dar Arab for Publishing and Translation. I really enjoyed it. I want to tell you why. Now, the first thing is that it's about a Yemeni family who spend part of their lives in Saudi Arabia. So there's, I think, 2 decades that the family's in Saudi Arabia, and then the family moves back to Yemen. And the protagonist, who goes by the female name Aliyah, and later, during their transition, the male name Ali, I will use both and try to kind of correspond that to the periods of their life. They traveled to UK both for academic purposes, they are a brilliant scholar, and to seek medical treatment for their condition, which has caused Aliyah, at this point, a lot of grief in their life. I have not been able to find out very much about the author, Younis Alakhzami, other than that he is referred to as an Omani writer. I don't know if he was born in Oman or whether he has a Yemeni background. I don't know. But this story is very much centered on a Yemeni family who spent part of their lives in Saudi Arabia. There's no connection between this family and Oman. Aliyah, in their childhood, felt very different. As they reached adolescence, they experienced overpowering attraction to women. They didn't think they were lesbian, and there was a lot of delay in typical adolescent female processes kicking in that were causing the family anxiety. The novel consists of multiple first-person accounts, and the protagonist, Aliyah, later Ali's, first-person narratives are often very powerful, particularly when they are describing the anxieties and realities of being what they later learned was an intersex person. I'm not going to say very much more about the science or the particular medical aspects, but there are lots of details about that in the novel. And sure enough, it's after Aliyah gets to the UK, they study in Swansea in Wales, that they get the medical attention they need with a knowledgeable expert, because there was no medical expertise in this area in Saudi Arabia or Yemen. There is a lot in the novel about how frustrating and alienating and demoralizing the absence of any medical expertise was for Aliyah and their whole family. Once Aliyah understands that they are intersexed, they soon begin a transition which they had dreamt about from an early age into becoming male. And there is a lot of detail about the many surgeries that Ali undergoes. And also the rich romantic life that Ali explored and manifested in their life. And that was all quite poignant to read about. It held my interest throughout. There were some things about Ali's life in the UK from the perspective of a Middle Eastern being transplanted into the UK that perhaps I didn't need so much detail about, but that is an incredibly minor criticism. The actual meat of the story was gripping, and the characters were fully realized. I also want to say a little bit more about the protagonist's family, particularly their father, because there is a close relationship between father and child, and their father is supportive, but his perspective and his ability to support his child is limited by a lot of the gender stereotypes, gender expectations, and homophobia and transphobia of the Arab world. This novel does a really good job of exploring all that in a way that is not stereotypical, and that there are nuances, and we see how much their father loves Ali/Aliyah. The rest of Ali's family come to also love and support them. So I love the emotional complexity of all that. But there is also a political colonial/anti-colonial thing happening in the novel that I found, I have to say, equally as interesting as the intersex narrative and all of those details. Aliyah/Ali's father was a vehement and very politically active anti-colonialist, and his childhood was spent in Aden, which, if you know anything, and I learned a lot by Googling as I was reading this book, Aden was a British colony, and then it became South Yemen, and then it merged with North Yemen and became Yemen, but there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And at the time that the father of the protagonist was a young man, he was politically militant and very active in the anti-colonial struggle, to the chagrin of his father, and he was on the verge of being arrested, and his father got him out of the country, and that's why he went, well, eventually to Saudi Arabia. And then 20 years later, all of that political ferment was, the politics of Yemen were in a very different place in the late 80s, and he brought his family back. His wife was Yemeni, and they had a large family, including, at the time, Aliyah. And Aliyah is very anti-colonial, hates his anti-colonialist views and how opposed he is to all things British, because they feel, Aliyah feels, that the solution to their problem, the ability for Aliyah to become Ali and to become fully themselves, was not possible in Yemen, but was possible in the West. And so there's a clash there that I actually would have liked to seen more about that in this novel, but what is there I found incredibly fascinating. But getting back to the main theme, the main narrative of this story, being gender non-conforming and ultimately realizing that they are intersexed. The way that that plays out in Arabic culture, and I shouldn't say Arabic, but in Saudi and then in Yemeni culture, is fascinating. It manifests differently, and there are special problems and, in fact, opportunities that are presented the protagonist in those cultures. When a Arabic colleague in the UK, academic colleague, finds out that Aliyah is actually male and is now transitioning to become Ali, he is incensed that Aliyah spent private time with his wife when in fact they were male. And so in retrospect, he is outraged in a way that is just shocking to a Western reader. Things like that. The translation is fantastic, and I hope that more work by Younis Alakhzami gets translated. And I think that you should read it. Thanks for watching.